Friday. Welcome to day one of creating comics and manga from concept to publication. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. And so the way that this panel is going to be run, because it's so much stuff to cover, is we're going to be doing a slideshow presentation about the ins and outs today of writing and concepting and marketing. And then at the very end of it, that's when your questions happen.
So hold on to your questions. We promise we will have time for them. But we're going to open up by answering the question you may be asking yourself right now. Who the hell are we and why should you listen to what we have to say?
Why, hello, I'm Comfort Love.
And I'm Adam Williams, and we are the husband and wife action faction responsible for a trio of self-published comic series, The Unique's Tales Anthology, and Rainbow in the Dark.
We actually also just did a big how-to book on self-publishing called The Complete Guide to Self-Publishing Comics that came out through Random House. So we literally wrote the book on making comics and self-publishing.
Yes, ironically, the one book we did not self-publish is the book on self-publishing.
Don't ask us about that. That's a whole Random House thing.
What else?
All right.
So we write our books together, we draw our books together, we color our books together, we letter them together, we do everything except hit Control-P at the printer. That's somebody else. That's
where we
too
all
far.
forward.
And we are bringing the knowledge that we have amassed in our years of doing this professionally to you. Wait, sorry, main voice. So let's talk about writing. Writing starts at the concept stage, which really is just trying to figure out what it is you're making and why.
Right, it's not enough to, just be like, I want to make this. You have to know why. You got to ask yourself those hard questions of who's going to read it? Who wants to read it? Why do I want to go through all the pain of making this thing?
You look at the comics that you like, manga you've read, movies, the shows, the things that you've loved, the stories that have reached you in some way, and ask yourself why. Why did they affect you that way? Why did they have that impact on you, for good or for bad? And how can you build a story that can create those same emotions in others?
Now, when you're getting started, you're going to start off by asking yourself some fundamental questions here. And one of them is what format, sort of what style this is going to be at, and that determines the part of your audience. So we're saying, are you doing American comics? Are you doing manga? Are you doing webcomics? And all those things are great, but all those things have their separate audiences and stuff, and you've got to know who's going to be reading that thing before you get started.
Not only that, but there are practical applications of format as well. The size of the page will determine how much content you can fit on that page. The size of the single issue or chapter will determine how far you can get in your story with every chapter. If you're doing a strip-a-day webcomic, then you're going to have to refine the concept of your story in a very different way than somebody who's releasing a page-a-week webcomic, or somebody who's releasing a 20-page chapter every month. So knowing that format is going to help you refine your concept right from the start.
And like we said, we're asking, hey, what's our book about? And this goes, again, like I was saying, to audience here, and it sort of has to depend on broad or not so broad. Define. So let's talk about, Wreck-It Ralph. Right? Wreck-It Ralph is a movie about video games, and that's awesome, and a ton of people watch and play video games.
But about halfway through that movie, it becomes a story about candy.
And here's the reason for that. Because this many people know and love video games, and this many people love candy.
Right. There were about a few dozen people in that theater who lost their butts over a Zangief joke. But then everybody gets candy games, right? So figuring out what kind of audience that you want to target with your story, what kind of audience will even be drawn to your story is an essential part of that initial breaking of the concept, that initial understanding of the concept. You're not just making comics for you. You're making comics to be read by somebody. So who's that somebody?
Now, as you're doing this, we're also talking about, because this stuff can be really time-consuming. And you got to be honest with yourself about how long your book can be. Is it short? Is it forever?
How much space does a story even need? How much space can you afford to produce? The more story you write, the more story you release, the more money you're going to have to spend to get it out there. So there are practical considerations and there's story considerations.
And you're working really hard to make sure all this stuff counts. So I know you may enjoy your filler every now and again.
Nobody enjoys the filler episodes. Nobody. There are entire sites dedicated to warning people what episodes to skip.
So that means that in your book, no filler, guys. Every single scrap of it.
Make every issue count. Yes, plan the whole thing start to finish before you start writing. Understand whether you're working on something that's a mini-series or a long-form series or an ongoing series.
Alright, for instance, like, Naruto is a long-form series, but it's still contained.
Right, a mini-series is anything between 1 to 12 chapters, 1 to 12 issues. It's a short story, it's concise, it's to the point. The manga anime was a short story. 13 episodes, done, over. And it got its point across. A long-form story can go a much longer time. It's anything over 12 issues, but usually it's 25, 50, 100. The point is it has an ending, but it's going to take a while to get there.
Now, what an ongoing story is like, your Marvel and your DCs. Those are things that go on into infinity, and writing for those things is a whole other can of worms.
But you should still approach writing for an ongoing series as though you were writing a miniseries or long-form story. If you look at the best runs on some of these long-running characters, those runs work on their own. They're almost contained stories. Brian Bendis' run on Daredevil, Greg Rucka's run on Wonder Woman, Brian K. Vaughn's run on Runaways. These are stories that work on their own, but are also part of these massive things.
But you never ever plan to be doing an ongoing series because you do not know what's going to happen here. So you're always doing something that's finite, that's got a beginning, a middle, and an end, no matter what.
C.A.G.E.Addicts and Schuster could not have known that Superman was a character who would still be going 80 years later and beyond. They couldn't have planned for that, unfortunately, to their great financial detriment. They could not have planned for that. And neither can you. You don't know if your story is going to be that beloved. So think about a story arc and how long that arc is going to take.
Now, something that we like that helps us figure out how long this is we ask ourselves, is this going to be a movie or is this TV?
Yeah, the long-form TV series has picked up a lot of strength lately. Shows like Game of Thrones, shows like Breaking Bad or Mad Men, shows that they last over a long period of time. Maybe that's the kind of story you're trying to tell, or maybe your story is a linear film. It's tight, concise, and to the point. Look at these sorts of media, and they can give you a good idea of how much space in your story might be by comparing.
Now, you're going to take your time, though, with this, because there's no rush. You might think there is. You might be like, oh my gosh, I'm 16 and time's a ticking and I better get this 100-page epic out.
Soon I'll be 20 when it's over.
No! You know what? This takes so much time and resources. You can spend years literally figuring it out, working things out. What are you going to do? What's your story going to be about? You can do all the layouts and all that kind of stuff before you put pencil.
The story is the most important part of any comic. The story is why we care. So take your time to make that story amazing. Be ready to put the work into it. And as you get better, as you do more of this work, the ideas will come faster. And you won't have to take quite as long building your concept.
For instance, when we were doing our series, The Uniques, it took 6 years. Right now, to be fair, it's our long, ongoing, long
maxi series. It's like 100 issues all in. And that was 6 years before we wrote a single script. 6 years before we drew a single page. 6 years just designing characters, working out character arcs, working out story arcs, working out the big ideas of this series.
Now, once we got used to doing that, the more stories we tell, the faster we're going to be. So when we did Rainbow in the Dark only took 2 years to write. Now, it was a shorter story, but we knew more of what we were doing. So it's the experience that makes you better and faster and tighter. So you need to keep that up, keep practicing.
And when you're ready, you have a concept built, you have a story ready, and you think you know what you're doing, you want to share it with people. But you want to pick people who can give you good feedback, feedback that matters. Don't keep your ideas inside. We hear all the time, as people who are also artists. Frequently we hear from writers, oh yeah, I've got this great idea, and I think you'd be great for it. Now I don't tell anybody about this. I don't want anybody to steal my ideas. Nobody is going to steal your ideas.
Guess what?
Not some special, unique snowflake.
There's no new ideas. Sorry, that's the reality. But what you can do is you can actually start putting your story out now online, and that actually works as a way to do a pseudo copyright on it now rather than waiting until infinity to do it later.
The point is that you can't know whether your story works until you talk about it with somebody. You don't know where the holes are until you try to explain it, and you realize that you know what is A and B and D, but you forgot about C. You don't really know how to get there. Sometimes getting it out of your head, even we talk stories back and forth to each other, but we really easily develop our own little secret language that makes sense to us and nobody else. So even we have to talk to other people so that we figure out how to explain these ideas. But the people you talk to have to be people who are actually going to challenge you on this.
Your mom may not be your best choice.
Yeah, even if she's the mom who hates everything you do, sort of passive aggressive, but I suppose that's a nice. Sure. So how long is this conversation?
Yep. So the point is, not your mom, but somebody that you really trust, that you feel like is good with story, and that's going to call you on the stuff that you might be able to.
They need to find where those holes are. They need to ask you challenging questions. They need to make you think about this. And that's not going to happen if it's somebody who just sort of nods and smiles at you.
And so to get that and to fill those holes in, sometimes when you find them, you got to do the work. You got to do your research, guys. You got to go out. You got to crack open books. You got to go to them internets. You need to find out the real world stuff that fills in the gaps for your story.
Yeah, they say write what you know, but nobody knows everything, right? And that doesn't mean that you can only write stories about your narrow influence. But you do have to be aware that anybody who does have experience and backgrounds of the things that the characters have experience in, if they do the work that you're writing about, they're going to see flaws in that a normal person wouldn't. Sometimes it puts them completely off. You know, if you ever sit with somebody who has been a soldier and watch a war movie, oh, they're pointing at the screen all the time. You know, getting it right matters. Getting it right makes a difference. So you don't have to actually be a scientist or a fighter pilot or a firefighter to write about scientists, space fighter pilots, and whatever. But learning what they do and how they do it can add extra layers of realism to the story that you're writing, the characters that you're writing about.
Right, you're looking at things like, different jargons, different patterns, different behaviors, all that kind of stuff. Actually, crime writers, for instance, will do ride-alongs all the time with cops and things like that to get a sense of what it really is like, to be out there on the streets and stuff like that. And that can happen for you with just about anybody. If you're writing a story about science, there's a scientist out there that wants to talk to you because people like talking about the job.
They're excited, right? If there's a writer who comes on and is like, I'm interested in your life. What are things like for you? I'm writing a story I want to get it right. People like that. People are anxious to talk to somebody who gives a crap about what they do every day and really cares and wants to get those details right. So you can find people on Facebook, on Twitter, there's people all over the place that would be interested. So just approach them, be honest. I'm writing a story, I've got a character who does this thing, and I want to get it right, so what can you tell me?
Now there are some things, honestly, that you can't, always know because it doesn't exist.
Right.
Space aliens kind of don't exist. You can't go up to Mars and be like, so, how's it been being a Martian?
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah. So, Sir Ian McKellen, I'm writing a story about wizards. What was it like to learn magic? There are no wizards. So what do? What you want to do when you're writing the utterly fantastic things, for which there are no real-world comparisons, is you figure out what's the close thing. You find out what kernel of reality exists within that. Superman is a story about an alien who comes to Earth, but it's an immigrant story. It's a story about a guy who has no home, who lost everything. His family, his background, everything that he could have called his own is gone. And he grew up in this strange place and is trying to make it a home for himself. He's trying to assimilate, to be part of us. So cares about being one of us more than we care about being us.
Even though this dude can fly and has, heat beams coming from his eyes and can do all this crazy stuff, if that immigrant story makes sense, if him being a reporter and stuff like that, if that makes sense, and those details are right, your fantastical stuff is far more easily accepted by your audience.
Every time you get a detail right, we'll forgive something else. You know, if the simple things ring true, if the heart of a character rings true, then we'll forgive almost anything else you want to do.
So let's move forward. Let's talk about scripting. Let's talk about actually writing this stuff down.
And writing means rewriting. Rewriting and rewriting over and over
And you
over.
may hate that, but you have to do it. There's no way around it because you're trying to make the best story possible, period.
Artists out there who are also writing your own stories, do not skip the drafting process and figure, I'll work it out. You won't work it out in the art.
You're going to make so much more work for yourself, and it's going to suck, and then you're going to say, why didn't I listen to Comfort and Adam?
Yes, write your script long form first. Know where you're going and know what you're doing, and then start drawing pictures after you have a perfect, clear image of where you're trying to go.
We spent an entire year, you guys, on Uniques before we, just writing scripts, before we even started drawing the first page. So that's how long you got to spend.
You script out in advance, too, right ahead of where you're starting, so that you know where things are going to go. And get readers for the scripts, too. Just like you wanted to talk to people about your concept while it's still just in your head, get people to read the scripts. You know, if you don't have actual editors, conscript some. Get some people that you know that are interested in reading this thing and get their feedback.
And get people from all walks of life. You know, we have people who do read comics, manga, who don't, who are young, who are old, who are of different backgrounds, and that kind of stuff is going to matter. You know, getting different perspectives from people who are not you gives you a sense of how this is being interpreted by the public at large.
A wide range of readers means a wide range of feedback. And this plays into the research idea too, because if you have people who can read your script, who are representative of the sorts of characters you're trying to write, then they can give you invaluable feedback about like, nobody's going to talk about this. You know, that's what you want to hear. If you're getting really deep into the jargon, and somebody who actually lives that life is like, you're using these words wrong. This isn't how we talk. That's good to know before you publish the thing. So getting readers, getting editorial feedback, this is super important. You don't have to use everything they say, but if you start hearing the same things over and over, it's probably a good idea.
So, we talked about rewriting, but rewriting is also scrapping. Because you know what? Not everything is gold, and not even everything that is gold needs to stay necessarily.
Yeah, there's no idea, there's no scene, there's no line of dialogue, there's no character that you can create that is so good that it's worth keeping them around if they're holding the story back. The story is the most important thing. We cut an entire character from Rainbow in the Dark. We rewrote the entire first script of Uniques after 6 or 7 drafts because it just wasn't working. We had to start from scratch. You've got to be willing to make those big cuts.
Now you might be looking at us and being like, this is all great, and I understand cutting, but I sometimes don't know what to cut or why. Like, what are some loose rules on that?
Every scene that you write should be working towards the development of the plot, of the story, or of the characters in that scene. And the best scenes that you write are going to do more than one of those things at a time.
Now, a lot of people don't know, say, for instance, the difference between story and between plot. Now, plot, guys, is what the story is about. It's the things that happen. You know, I go from here, I go from there, I, fight this, I do that. But the story is what it's really about. It's the humanity.
Yeah, the plot of Star Wars is intergalactic civil war. This ragtag group of rebels rising up against the powerful empire to bring peace and justice back to the galaxy. Return of the Jedi to the scene and all these things. That's the plot. The story of Star Wars is a young orphan boy finds his father and in redeeming his father saves himself. The story of Star Wars is a bitter, cynical old pirate finds out he's a better man than he thought he was and has to make some decisions. That's the story. That's the heart of what makes it happen. The plot works on one level, the story works on another, but they work together. Some stories are stronger than plot. Sometimes a movie you watch or a book you read, it'll be all plot, no story.
2009 Star Trek. Crap plot. Terrible.
But the story,
doesn't work out.
the heart of it is so good.
You want Kirk and Spock to be best friends?
Yeah, Sherlock, on the other hand, is lots of plot with less story, a little less. It's mostly about that mystery. Heist movies are the same way. How are they going to get from A to B to C to knock off this bank? The plot is what you're watching for. There's enough story to make you care, but it's mostly about the sequence of events. So there isn't always a perfect balance, but they do work together in concert. And that's what you're trying to build with these scenes you're writing.
Alright, so we always like to have one little demonstration, a quick demonstration before we get back to talking.
Yeah, we're going to actually show some scripts and show how our process works. So the first thing we do when we're working on an issue is we break it down. I mean, at this point, we have our concept together. We know what's happening in this issue. So we go in and we break it down by scenes and page counts.
And what that does is it gives you a good sense of what's happening in that issue, whether, again, you're working with comics, manga, webcomics, whatever, and you're saying, okay, what happens? And once you like that, then you can move forward and you can actually start breaking your pages down.
This also helps make sure that you've got enough room in your issue for all the things you want to do, and you're not just running over to
Because one of the worst things that you can do, I'll be honest with you, is just start writing into infinity. Because somebody, even if it's not you, has to draw this thing.
Yes.
And that's going to suck if it got from, it's only 20 pages to, it's 75.
Yeah, try and keep some control of the freak. So once we've got the scenes broken down, the next thing we do is break it down page by page by page.
And not just page by page, I'm talking page and panel. Because it is just like it's easy to get from 20 pages, 75 pages, it's easy to be like, I'm only going to have 4 panels on this page to somehow I got 13, but we'll make it work. You only have so much room on every single page. You know what? And other things like establishing shots, when you're showing all this background and stuff, it keeps more space. And when you're doing smaller things like manga, you have even less space to work with.
So our general guide is to try and keep between 4 to 6 panels on a page at the most. Occasionally you can go a little over if they're going to be tiny sliver panels, but don't let that become the norm. If you're doing 9 panels on every page, there's just not going to be a lot of room for the artist to play and give you big dramatic scenes that you want.
I usually say, if you're doing a manga, 4 panels, buckaroo.
Because they're so small, those pages are tiny. You got to have room for the text to fit. And there have been a lot of manga we've come across where they get so many small panels in that it becomes difficult to see what's happening.
I love the hell out of Naruto, but half the time when they're doing those fight sequences and they're like 13 panels, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Eventually I'm going to go watch the anime, I guess, and then I'll be like, that's what was happening.
Okay, I think there's somebody's heel is in this one, and there's a poof sound effect, so there's a poofy heel. And then, like an elbow. No, that's a nose. Comfort! Yeah, leave enough space for the sake of the artist who wants to be able to do visually dramatic things, and for the sake of your poor readers who need to be able to deal with what's happening.
So very quickly, the last stage of this thing, get it up, there you go, is actually working out, what your dialogue is. Every time you're doing another panel, you're saying a description, like what's happening. It's like it's stage directions. You're saying, hey, artists, this is what we're going to do here. Now, you don't want to make that forever. You don't need to write a small, a small, a novel?
Yes.
You don't need to do that.
You don't need to do full prose. There's a writer, Alan Moore, who writes for comics, famous writer, big guy. He did Watchmen, he did Big Story, great writer, but he writes a novel for every script.
And every time you'd be looking at that script, like, here's the panel description, and then, here's all this text. And then
a little bit of dialogue.
And then you watch as the artist went through and highlighted these teeny tiny spots, like, this actually matters, all this doesn't, and this actually matters. So make it count.
Yes. Keep it tight. Make sure you say what needs to be said so that the artist can tell what's in your head. If you're also the artist, still give yourself good descriptions, because in the process of writing, from the time you're writing to the time you start drawing, you might forget stuff. So if you have good ideas for what you want those panels to be, write it down.
So don't be too sparse and no word vomit.
Yes.
And you'll be good.
You can also see here all the different colors. Those colors are our different revisions. So there's very little black here. The black would have been first revision. And you can see how little of that stays to the final actual script. There's a lot of change back and forth.
Sometimes we're doing so many graphs, we're like, what's the next color? Chartreuse? Yeah, that works.
Yeah, right.
All
We
right.
used all the obvious colors. Okay,
Let's keep moving forward, guys.
so you have your script. You have your thing, it's ready to go. Now you
Hooray.
gotta work with somebody else.
No!
You gotta hand off your baby to some artist who's going to hopefully treat you with respect.
And even if you are the artist, chances are you are going to have to be getting some help from other people. So be ready for collaboration in some way, shape, or form.
Well, real collaboration makes a story a lot stronger than it would have been. Our stuff is better because it's two of us bringing our minds together. And your stuff will be better by bringing more people in. A genuine collaboration where the writer listens to the artist and the artist listens to the writer and they both listen to the colorist who also has great ideas. This is how the best things happen.
And some people ask us, where do I find my
Probably the
artist?
most common question
Yeah.
we get asked by writers is, where can I find somebody to work with?
And I usually say, them internets,
Yeah.
they have the artists.
Yeah, we are in a time now where there are a lot of websites where artists congregate, and places even like Digital Webbing, which has a full comics,
Comics,
want
for instance,
ads.
comics, manga, web comics,
Yeah.
all of it.
Like full forums that are like straight up want ads, where artists can post work and writers can post looking for artists if you can find each other that way. Create a rapport, like start talking with people, meet people at conventions and start a conversation. Get to know them and get to build a relationship with them verbally. See how your minds meet, see how much on the same level.
Because it's important to have that trust and to respect your artists. Because the reality is you're doing this much of the job and they are doing that much of the job.
As people who do both, we can write full scripts in a day, but best case scenario, we can only draw one page in a day. So if you're doing 20 to 26 page chapters or issues every month, you're effectively asking an artist to give up their life for your project every month. Because that's 26 days out of the month they're going to have to work together.
So you got to find a way to help compensate these guys. And, sharing rights, that's a gift. That's just what you do. So beyond that, what can you do? If you don't have money, what do you
We are
have?
big fans of the barter system. Most people have something that they can offer that others don't have. We've heard of writers doing taxes for the artists. We've heard of, no lie, I will mow your lawn. I will landscape for your house in return for you drawing pages for me. Like, what can you find? A goat? Do you have goats that you can offer? What do you got? Everybody's got something, and everybody needs something. And money's nice because it can be exchanged for goods and services. But
What?
maybe you cut out the middleman and just offer goods and services, right?
Right. If you don't have
Find something, that's the point. Because it's tough for writers. We know it's tough for artists too. You don't necessarily have a tremendous amount of personal wealth. But, what are we going to do? It takes a huge amount of work to do this. We know that there's going to be right sharing involved, but honestly, most comics don't make any money for years. You know that, we know that. So what can we do? How can we come to some agreement, some understanding?
Now,
How can we learn to talk? Because that's a big issue.
so the thing is expecting that perfection. And not just being like, it's going to be perfect forever and everybody's going to be best friends, because that's not necessarily true. Even we, who've been married here since 2003, we met in 99, bitches. It's been a long time. And we still sometimes have epic battles over fighting. We don't fight about, dishes or anything like that. We're like, no, this person has to do this in this story.
Story stuff. Only the story stuff. Yeah, you're new at this. You probably haven't written comics before professionally, and you're probably working with an artist who has never done this or hasn't done it much. You don't know what you're doing. Either of you do. There's gonna be miscommunication. And if there's one thing the internet has taught us, is that it's really easy to read this much text and presume this much intent. So when you're sending emails back and forth, give the benefit of the doubt. Alright? Trust each other. Offer that trust back and forth. Don't take things and assume the first, the attitude out of this guy. What is he? Come on. It's just text. Ask questions. Be willing to put yourself out back and forth and work through this frustration.
Calm down and be open to that other person, because the best projects is when both people are on board and both people are excited rather than one person dragging the other.
In the beginning, start small with your project. You might have this massive 500-issue epic story in your head, but you're not ready for that. Your artist isn't ready for that.
So if you guys can pull off 5 pages, consider yourself well done.
Yeah.
Because not many people can do that.
5 pages, we find, is a great number. It's enough pages to actually tell a story that has a little bit of art to it. It starts and it ends. You can get a little satisfaction there. It's enough artwork that your artist has to work for it, but not so much that they're in over their head. It's usually a pretty easy amount of space to complete. And then you have a story, a little 5-page story. You can do something that's like a prelude to your big story, Introducing characters, getting us used to ideas from your world.
And little stories are a great way to grow your fan base.
Yes, put them online. If you're worried about copyright, release stuff online. It puts a timestamp on everything you do, so you can prove that you did this at a certain time. Start using Tumblr and Facebook and whatever. Put these stories out so people can start reading them and getting interested in your comic. And then when you release the nice collected trade paperbacks, you can use these 5-page stories as like extra content or whatever. It's all useful. You're starting small, but it's all building towards something.
So, one more note before we talk about the magic of marketing and publication. Lettering. You know what? Being your own letterer can actually be great, especially just even putting in the dialogue, because the lettering is sort of your last pass for your editor.
Yeah, the dialogue we've written in the script rarely makes it exactly as written onto the drawn page. Things change when you see the artwork, when you see how things have been drawn. Sometimes, an expression on the face makes you feel like, well, I should say that differently to match how this character's feeling. So if you're doing your own lettering as a writer, then you can get right in there. You can find a way to make it fit. Maybe you wrote way too much text for the size of
Chances are you wrote way too much text.
Probably. Occasionally, you wrote way too little for a big empty space. So you can get in there and tinker with it, toy with it. Lettering can be a little tricky to learn, but ultimately, it's not that difficult a skill to develop.
Writers come in here on
Saturday, we are doing color and lettering.
We're going to do a full demonstration
Full demo
on lettering.
Come learn to letter Saturday. You'll be glad you did. We started lettering because we had no choice. The letterer for the book had to move on.
But I never give it up now because I'm a control freak.
Yeah, no, we love doing it. So, you've got a book made. Congratulations.
Yay!
You've already put yourself in like the top 10 percentile of comic creators. You have something. Now you got to get it out there. Print publishing, it comes down to 2 things. There's print on demand, and there is offset printing. Offset printers are what you usually think of when you think of printers. Giant machines that fill up like this whole room. They run off thousands of pages at once. The more you print, the cheaper it gets.
Basically, if you're looking at a book and you're like, printed in China, that was offset printing.
Yes. Print on demand is digital printing. They use smaller machines that are like the length of one of these tables. They run off one whole issue at a time. Call it a staple it, done. And they are not as efficient for doing big runs, obviously, because it's just one book at a time instead of 1,000. But if you only need 20 copies of your book, it will be so much cheaper to get it print on demand out of one little machine than having them fire up the giant warehouse for 20 books.
Right. And guess what? You are not ready for a big offset run yet.
No, sir.
Nobody knows you. You're not going to sell 5,000 copies right now.
Test the waters. Set up to go to some conventions. Get space in an artist alley and run off 20, 30 copies of your book.
See what happens.
See how it does.
Set it up as an online store. Sell those things there. Slow growth is good growth.
We use Kablam for print on demand, and they have a site in Indie Planet. And everything that they print at Kablam, they will list for free at Indie Planet. So you can direct people right to the store. Kablam does all the printing for you. They do all the warehousing for you. All you do is sit back and collect your money.
Alright, but there's also a thing called the internet, like we said, and
distribution is how you get your book into the hands of the people.
So,
and in North America, where we are, there's really only Diamond. They're the only people who distribute comics throughout North America. And you are not ready for Diamond yet.
and that's because you cannot make them money yet, and they like making money.
They have minimum dollar thresholds. You must sell at least this dollar amount. We're talking like $2,000-$3,000 worth of product, or else they will not carry you. And they won't carry you out of sequence. So if Volume 1 and 2 make the minimums, Volume 3 misses, they will not carry Volume 4.
You're done in Diamond forever.
So wait. Focus on digital distribution, focus on conventions, focus on building your brand, building your fan base. And once you are comfortable selling a lot of comics, then you can start talking to Diamond. It was 5 years of us doing 20 conventions a year before we put a book through Diamond.
And that was taking $10,000
Yes.
and doing our first big print run.
That's the other downside of offset printing, is you have to put all that money up front. You pay a few $100s to get a bunch of books through print on demand. That's fine. They might be way cheaper offset, but you're going to have 10 grand up front.
It's
a lot. So wait till you're ready. Don't rush it. Rushing things is one of the surest ways to kill your career before you even start.
So, go onto the internet and put out your book also digitally. You know, Amazon has stuff, Comics Plus, Comixology, Drive Through Comics, and there's even more out there, and you can put your stuff everywhere so that people can find it.
Digital comics are no longer the future. They're the now. They're the right now. This is
I bet
how
all of you have read a digital comic.
Most people are starting to read digitally. The most recommended method that we can say for people is do your chapters or your single issues, release them digitally. And then when you have enough for a full collection, do a paper trade paper. People still like putting the big books on the bookshelf. It's real nice for classics.
Right. And release all your, pages if you can. Once you've got a backlog, release them for free on your website and get people interested that way, and then they can go get those individual, digital copies or the actual trades.
The point is, when it comes to distribution, the correct answer is everything. You want to use every option that you have all at once, because you have no idea how your audience is going to want to get your product. So the more options that you have for them, the more likely it is that they'll be interested in picking you up and giving it a try.
Okay, so now, congratulations. You not only have your comic, manga, webcomic, but you also have it printed. Hooray!
It's going out. It's being released. It's a thing.
But now is the hardest part, which is marketing.
Marketing is how you get people to know you exist. It is tough. It is a very large world out there. And it's not just about being a small fish in a big pond anymore. You are a piece of kelp in the ocean. There is so much white noise out there. It is tough to get heard.
There's a thing called the white earbud world, it's a concept where once upon a time, people all experienced media together. If you talk to my mom, she listened to AM radio, on the beach, and you could walk down the beach and everybody have their radios, and they'd all be playing the same thing over and over again. It created a funnel that all media went in, and everybody had that same delicious media drip, and so we all knew the same songs, and we all loved the same shows. It was great.
Them days are done, yo. They're done. Today, we like to get our media the way we want our media. I don't want to listen to your random radio crap. I want to make my own playlist. Or I want to listen to a playlist made by somebody who I know likes the same crap I like. I don't want to listen to random songs. I want to listen to a large percentage of songs I've chosen, and then a couple that are kind of like those other songs. So that's how we find things. The funnel is done. It's just raining now. We're putting up umbrellas because nobody wants to get wet. How do you get heard? How do you build an audience? You find a niche. That's what it's about.
Surprise, surprise, get on the internet.
The audience isn't going to find you. You have to find them. You have to go where they are and let them know who you are. Become a part of internet communities that are into the stuff you're into. That are into the stuff that's in your book. Don't go on there and start selling. Don't start putting up posts like, hey, buy my thing. I'm what thing? Like, we've all got that guy on our Facebook feed who, like, just markets all the time. Here's my new thing, buy my thing, here's my new thing. Nobody likes that guy.
That guy's a jerk.
He's like a living spam bot. We hate that freak. Don't be that. Be a human being.
To somebody that people like. For instance, people might buy our books because, you know, they look good and they read good. We got award nominations. Yay! But really, in a lot of ways, they're buying our book because we're an adorable couple who makes comics together and they love that and they want to support that.
Yes.
So make them want to support you.
Your book is not your product. You are your product. You are the thing you're trying to sell. You want people to think you're awesome. And let's face it, you're making comics. You are awesome. Like, that's cool, man.
And you're going to have to do things you might not like. Artists, you might be like, well, TV artists, something that I don't want to be a part of because there's all this drama. Well, too bad.
They're so mean on Tumblr. Well, don't pay attention to them. Ignore them.
You might not like Facebook, but suck it up and get on Facebook.
Or get your wife to do it for you. So you can make a principal stand over here and still reap the benefit. I've heard people do it.
Yes, you've heard.
The point is, it takes two to drama, ladies and gentlemen. Two to drama. You can let it go. You can ignore it and use these outlets for all of the positive benefits they can give you.
And you know what else is great? Conventions!
Heck yeah.
Yay! You're at one right now. What? These things are great because you can actually meet people in person and not just on the internet where you talk to them and hope that they're real.
In this digital age, a physical handshake is stronger than ever. We value direct personal meetings more than we value any other interaction that we have. No matter how much you text people, seeing them matters more. And when we're at conventions, we're leaving a real impression that's going to last. Every one of our super mega fans, like the people who just lay down any amount of money, the fry guys, take my money, those guys, all of those people we met at conventions. That's where we make those fans.
So what we're asking you guys to do today is to embark on a project.
Yes. That's the thing about the now is that there is no single path anymore to success. It used to be that there was a way that things were done, and everybody did it that way. Not anymore. You've got to find the way to make your own success. Find a way that things are going to work for you. Your book will have its own demands. It will have its own methods that you're going to need to use to get it sold, to get it found.
So, we're all set here.
We'll continue. We are going to have another one tomorrow where we talk about character design and drawing pages. Saturday, we're going to be back again talking about color and lettering, doing full demos
And
of how to do this.
Sunday, we're going to be talking about how to make your dream your job
We're going to be up here
with two
with
other
voice
voice
actors, with some animators, and we're talking about making your passion your job. So we'll be doing panels all weekend on awesome stuff if you want to follow. But now, questions.
So who's got questions?
In the red in the back. You're handing up quick. Talk loud because you're back there.
What?
I think that it's a good idea for the author to also have some art skills.
Is it a good idea for the author to have some art skills? I think it's always a good thing to know as much as you can about the job that everybody else on the team is going to have to do. Because the more you know about what your team is doing, the more sympathetic you can be to their process, and the more you can design your scripts for their behalf.
For instance, when we wrote our how-to book, we made sure to do everything. Concept writing, drawing, lettering, coloring, publishing, and marketing. And the reason that we did that is because everybody needs to know every aspect of the job, no matter who you are, because you need to have that knowledge and that sympathy for the other people who you are working with.
The biggest thing that ruins collaborations is a lack of empathy. So yes, having those skills to start, you will be able to write for comics better if you understand something about making art.
All right, other questions here.
In the black.
No, sadly no. You have to do that on your own. The question was, is there a particular platform that people can get together and you can agree on how much you're going to pay your artist, and
This
how your
platform will
percentage
take care of
rate.
your contracts and delivery.
You might be able to find advice on that, but it's not necessarily somebody who's going to take care of that for you. That would be actually a publisher, but not even all publishers do that. For instance,
Most, like Image, pays the team leader, who's usually the writer, which is why we
and then you have to disseminate it down. All right, question back here.
We're talking about distribution online. I saw on the website that
Yes.
you have
Yes.
do.
my own research, everyone agrees that
You need to have friends in the park.
You need to, unless you're somebody with a lot of web background, you're not going to be able to build your own. The amount of time that it takes to learn those skills is just, it's counterproductive. You're going to need to either know somebody who can do it for you or pay somebody to do it for you, unfortunately. You can use some platforms like Tumblr. There's a lot of artists who use Tumblr, for instance.
And that can like lead you to other things. You know, you can just break into code just a little bit and put all your links and stuff on the side. That can usually work.
But the nice thing about building your own central website is that it can act as a hub that directs people out to everywhere else. You know, our website, we have sort of a placeholder now for building a new one. It is going to draw in our Tumblr stuff and post it on the website. It's going to draw in our Twitter stuff. It's going to draw in Facebook stuff. It's going to pull from everywhere so that you can just find this one hub that's all of our...
All right, right here with the necklace. Or no, that's your. It doesn't. It looks like a necklace. It's just your lanyard. Hat. Yes.
Take it to conclusion.
Take it to conclusion. Like a lot of people want to make comics, and this many people actually get to make comics.
Yeah. The biggest one is lack of confidence. You just never get started. You have this idea and you sit on it forever and you think it'd be great. And someday, you're going to write that story.
And then it's money and it's time.
You start writing and you just don't have the determination to see it through. There's a lot of little things, but I think the biggest one is just the determination to make it happen.
Right here.
Well, there's a few different ways. If you're doing a free webcomic, the biggest ways that you make money on it are merchandise. The comic is free, but if you want a t-shirt, if you want to collect it like a hard book that you can own, if you want...
If you want to buy your digital copies or stuff like that.
There's a lot of little merchandise you can put out. People are into plushies, like whatever. You get into, the sky's the limit when it comes to merchandise. Also, you can offer advertising. If you get enough readers coming through regularly, using things like Google AdWords, Project Wonderful, I highly recommend. Project Wonderful is an advertising site where webcomic people come together and they choose other webcomics to advertise on their site. So if you're up on Project Wonderful, other people making comics who think your comic looks good can choose to advertise you on their site, and then you're getting ad revenue through Project Wonderful. So ad revenue is a way to do it. Merchandise is a way to do it. We sell digital downloads of comics. 30 pages for 99 cents. If you're selling digital downloads, 99 cents for free. If you charge less than 99 cents, you're making so little, it might as well be.
I'm going to take one more question.
More than
Pink shirt.
99 cents, you're a prick. So next.
Pink shirt. Well, I mean, because we draw our stuff too, we're always like, being able to know what we want, but we do make it fairly specific, like what I want to see in the panel. Your artist will put in some flourishes and stuff, but if there's something that absolutely has to be there, you better put it in the writing. There's no way your artist is going to read your mind.
There are a lot of writers who, like, for especially the action scene, will be like, page 4 to 5, they fight, they get cool. That happens. And then, leave it to the artist, because unless you have very specific beats that you want to see.
But you might have specific beats, and so if you do, don't be shy about putting them in, because, again, you're not there to have your artist read your mind and be like, I knew exactly what you wanted just because of magic. Yeah. They're not magic.
But there is a balance to be found, too. You don't have to necessarily go panel to panel.
You don't have to be
page 5, they're fighting. Do whatever you think is cool, but You know, he's got to make sure that he grabs that lapel right at the end because that's going to be it. So anything that is necessary that you really want to see, if it's important to you that there is that like plaid stuff bear on the shelf, describe it so that they know. That's all.
All right, so I know we can't get to everybody's question, but we are actually in Artist Alley. We're right by Copic Marker. So you can come and find us and talk to us, even if, you know, I already got to your question here and you just want to talk. We always make sure we're in Artist Alley to be here and help you guys out.
If we wanted to stay home and drive quietly, we wouldn't have come to this convention. So
Exactly.
come
So come
bug
see
us